In this video, we're going to be checking out an eGPU Oculink docking station. But not only that, we're actually going to plug it into this old Dell Latitude 5490 laptop to see if we can get some gaming done on this thing. But before we begin, we're going to learn a little bit about eGPUs. Oculink, or optical copper link, brings the full speed and performance of an internal PCIe slot outside the computer through a compact cable. It's become the preferred connection for eGPUs on gaming handhelds and mini PCs, offering more bandwidth, lower latency, and better value than Thunderbolt for external graphics setups. Before Oculink, connecting an external graphics card usually meant using Thunderbolt 3 or 4. If you wanted more performance, your only option was often a collection of enthusiast DIY hacks that tap directly into a computer's PCIe connections. Thunderbolt is the mainstream high-speed connectivity standard developed by Intel in collaboration with Apple, using the versatile USB-C connector. But when used for eGPUs, Thunderbolt carries PCIe traffic through its own protocol stack, rather than providing a direct PCIe connection. Combined with the need to share bandwidth with display and USB data, this introduces overhead and limits graphics performance. Oculink gained popularity by offering a more direct PCIe connection, significantly reducing the performance bottlenecks associated with Thunderbolt 3 and Thunderbolt 4 eGPU setups. But before standardized external PCIe connections gained traction, several manufacturers developed their own proprietary eGPU interfaces. While these solutions often delivered excellent performance, they were limited to specific hardware ecosystems and lacked broad industry adoption. For example, Asus introduced a proprietary external GPU interface for its ROG Flow series laptops and later the ROG Ally. The connector combined a custom PCIe X8 link with a USB-C connection. Dell's Alienware graphics amplifier used a dedicated external enclosure connected through a thick proprietary cable. The interface provided a direct PCIe 3.0 X4 connection to compatible Alienware systems. So to bypass a lot of these limitations, most of the time you actually had to take a conversion cable directly from the laptop and out of it to your eGPU, leaving your laptop completely open or with a hole so the cable can go through. That is actually what we're going to be doing in this video. Although Oculink is now a standard, not every computer has it. Meaning the newer ones, sure, but maybe your laptop or mini PC is a little bit on the older side and it still doesn't come with an Oculink port. So if you have a new laptop or mini PC that currently does have an Oculink port, just go ahead and plug it in, download your drivers, and get to gaming. But for this video, we actually got our hands on an M.2 to Oculink converter that we are going to be plugging into the Nvme port on our laptop and out to our GPU. So let's start plugging everything in and see if we can get to gaming. For our testing, we actually chose the Dell Latitude 5490. This was actually released back in 2018, so it still uses DDR4, which means that it's not entirely ridiculously old, but it's old enough. As you can see, we already took the back off, and to be able to do this, what we have to do is actually get our M.2 to Oculink converter plugged into our NVMe slot. It goes in just like any other NVMe. You just plug it in at an angle and then you get it screwed on. And then of course our SSD is just gonna kind of sit here because we don't have a choice. As for the back, we're only gonna place this on top just for the sake of everything not moving. So for our eGPU, we're actually going to be using an RTX 5080 that we kind of just had laying around. We're gonna plug this in, and then there is a little tightener right here on the side that helps you tighten the graphics card. And then this is going to help you hold the graphics card in place. Got our graphics power cable here. Now let's turn it completely around because we have to plug in the power cables to our Oculink system. Oh, by the way, I should mention this IU-Star, or I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, actually has an internal 800 watt power supply. It's from an old server, but it's pretty cool that they kind of already include that, so you don't have to worry about finding yourself a power supply. And then we plug them into the graphics card themselves. So this one does allow you to do up to 3 8-pin connectors. If you need more than that, you might have to look for a different eGPU system, but for mine, this will actually work perfectly. So the last thing we have to do before we start plugging in the power, we're going to plug in our Oculink connector. It looks like a DisplayPort connector, but it's not. It's a lot smaller actually. And then we're gonna plug it into the laptop down here. That's what it's gonna look like. So we have our first look on what this is actually gonna be like. Now, the actual station itself is pretty neat. The graphics card fits in properly. It has a good tightening tool, and the power supply cables are short enough, but long enough to actually connect properly to the graphics card. As for any other cables, the Oculink cable going into the laptop is the only cable you need. Now, of course, this is gonna look a little janky because we're leaving the laptop open, but if your computer already has an Oculink cable or your mini PC has an Oculink port, then you're fine. I mean, just plug this into that. Always make sure that you press this button before you actually turn on your laptop, because you need the power to go into the GPU before you do the laptop. So let's turn this on. We have power to the GPU, and now we're gonna turn on the laptop. So for the best possible performance, of course, most of us already know you have to plug in a monitor directly to the graphics card. So that's actually what we're gonna do right now. We plugged in one of our little portable monitors directly into the graphics card. So that way we are not going to be rendering anything on the screen of the laptop itself, and it's all gonna go onto our gaming monitor. For demonstrational purposes, we're gonna be using this. The other reason why this is a good idea is because even if you can get it to run directly on the laptop itself, now you are asking the cable to not only send information out, but also bring back information into the laptop, which causes performance issues. And also besides the performance issues, you might run into problems where it's not going to automatically switch to your big graphics card. So then you have to sit there and per game, go to control panel and adjust every single game to where it utilizes the graphics card itself instead of the iGPU that's in the laptop. To completely avoid all of that, we're just gonna plug in a monitor directly to the graphics card. So it only sends a signal directly from the laptop to the graphics card and then rendered to the screen itself. All right, once you have your drivers installed, make sure that you go back to Device Manager and check your graphics card to see if you have an exclamation point here. If you have an exclamation point here, that means that you probably have error code 43. You can check that by going to Properties, Driver, or General, and it should say error code 43 here. If you have that, I'm gonna leave a link down in the description below where you can find a batch file, which I've already downloaded myself, which is here, and then you run that batch file, and you'll be able to fix that error code 43, no issues. But that happens with a lot of NVIDIA eGPUs, so it's not really a big deal. All right, it's time for some real talk here. Sure, after some tinkering, we got it working. The eGPU itself, I think it's fine. My graphics card is fine. The introduction of the Nvme to Oculink adapter though may have caused some issues with our current setup. So what you guys don't see on camera is that I had to spend like 3 hours troubleshooting and tinkering, redirecting games to the eGPU and redirecting things to the external monitor, all these other things over and over and over again until I finally got it working. So one of the issues that was actually happening was that if I launched a game, the computer would actually crash and restart, and then I would have to try again and again and again. The other thing was that the computer wanted to send the games to the iGPU every single time because it saw that the screen was attached to the computer, and it was like, hey, that's cool, I see a screen here, but I don't want to send that out to the external monitor. And so then I had to keep restarting the games, trying to convince them to go ahead and start running on the GPU and out of the graphics card to the external monitor. That was kind of a headache to deal with. So eventually I just disabled the iGPU within the computer. And even after that, some of the games would start downloading shaders and then like at 90% would just like crash the entire computer again. So it didn't go as flawless as I thought, but sure, eventually we got it working. Now, that does not mean that you're going to run into these issues because your computer may have the Oculink port that this computer does not, which means you don't have to go through a third-party adapter and you're not going to run into all this that I ran into. So that being said, if you still want to check out one of these eGPU stations, I will leave a link down in the description below so you can easily find it. And if you already own this, let me know in the comments. Did you run into any issues? Are you running directly from Oculink to Oculink? Are you running a third-party adapter? Did you never even see any issues? Was it just plug and play for you? Let me know. I hope that this video was helpful, at least in helping you get to know what an Oculink eGPU station is. Until next time, take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next video.